Few women in high society were as notorious as Daisy Fellows. Thanks to her countless affairs, ruthless social snubs, and scandalous behavior, she earned the nickname the wickedest woman in high society. Yet when she died, an even bigger secret emerged, one that shocked those who thought they knew everything about her. Stay with us as we uncover the extraordinary life of a woman whose legacy was built on glamour, wealth, controversy, and heartbreak. Born Marguerite Philippine Duclos, Daisy entered the world with every imaginable advantage. As the granddaughter of the Duc de Cazes and Isabelle Blanche Singer, she belonged to French aristocracy and stood to inherit part of the immense Singer sewing machine fortune. But behind the glittering facade of privilege, tragedy struck early. At just 6 years old, Daisy lost her mother to suicide. Although she and her siblings inherited a vast fortune, their father was either unwilling or unable to raise them, leaving their wealthy aunt, Winnaretta Singer, to become their guardian. Growing up under Winnaretta's unconventional influence would shape Daisy for the rest of her life. Her aunt's glamorous world was filled with artists, aristocrats, and highly publicized romances, exposing Daisy to scandal and excess from an early age. Despite this chaotic upbringing, Daisy still dreamed of living the perfect aristocratic life. Shortly after turning 19, she married Jean, Prince de Broye, in what appeared to be an ideal union among Europe's elite. The fairy tale quickly unraveled. Rumors surrounding the prince's homosexuality had long circulated within aristocratic circles, where such secrets were often quietly ignored by the wealthy. According to accounts, Daisy's illusions were shattered after she allegedly discovered her husband in an intimate encounter with their chauffeur. The shocking discovery forever changed her view of marriage and love. Although Daisy and the prince had 3 daughters together, motherhood never seemed to interest her. One famous story claimed she once failed to recognize her own children while passing them in a public park. Whether exaggerated or not, the tale perfectly captured the reputation she would earn, a woman far more devoted to pleasure and social status than family life. As her personal life grew increasingly turbulent, Daisy transformed from a fashionable socialite into one of Europe's most controversial women. While she was never considered a classic beauty, her charisma and confidence captivated everyone around her. Determined to perfect her appearance, she underwent rhinoplasty before the age of 20, an extraordinarily rare and painful procedure at the time, reportedly performed without anesthesia. It was only the beginning of her relentless pursuit of beauty, luxury, and notoriety, a pursuit that would make her one of the most talked-about women of the 20th century. As Daisy's appetite for attention grew, so did the extremes she was willing to embrace. Obsessed with maintaining an impossibly slim figure, she experimented with one of the 20th century's most shocking beauty regimens. What began as a strict high-protein diet and periods of fasting eventually escalated to the use of stimulant drugs, which she relied upon to suppress her appetite. Her appearance became almost haunting, prompting legendary Vogue editor Diana Vreeland to remark that Daisy possessed the elegance of the damned. Daisy's fascination with these dangerous substances didn't remain a private habit. At glamorous parties, she reportedly offered the mysterious white powder to friends and acquaintances as casually as if it were another fashionable indulgence. One oft-repeated story claims that when a ballerina from the famous ballet's Russes complained of a headache, Daisy handed her a small amount of the powder, and the dancer felt instantly energized. Whether entirely true or embellished over time, the tale only reinforced Daisy's growing reputation for reckless excess. Her wardrobe was every bit as provocative as her lifestyle. A devoted admirer of Elsa Schiaparelli's bold creations, Daisy delighted in wearing surrealist designs that shocked even the fashion elite. She famously donned Salvador Dali's whimsical shoe-shaped hat, spent hours perfecting her hairstyle, sometimes as many as 10 appointments in a single day, and covered herself in extravagant jewelry until both wrists glittered beneath oversized gemstones. To Daisy, fashion was not simply clothing, it was theater. Yet even such dramatic displays failed to satisfy her craving for attention. By 1918 she remained married to Jean, Prince de Broye, but scandal soon found its way into her private life once again. In January she gave birth to their 3rd daughter, Jacqueline, and reportedly hinted that the child had been conceived during an extramarital affair. The astonishing claim stunned aristocratic society and exposed the deep unhappiness within her marriage. Just weeks later, tragedy struck. Prince de Broye died during the devastating influenza pandemic while serving in the First World War. Although influenza claimed millions of lives, rumors quickly spread that his death may have been linked to despair after his private life became the subject of gossip. No evidence ever confirmed those stories, but speculation followed Daisy for years. Widowed at a young age, Daisy wasted little time returning to the marriage market. Determined to secure another wealthy husband, she first pursued the Earl of Pembroke. The romance collapsed under pressure from his family, triggering yet another scandal. Daisy's older brother, Louis, was so outraged by the rejection that he challenged the Earl to a duel in defense of her honor. Thankfully, the confrontation never took place. Unfazed, Daisy immediately shifted her attention to another prominent figure, Winston Churchill, who was still rising in British politics. Despite Churchill being newly married, Daisy reportedly pursued him with remarkable persistence. After he rejected her advances, she stunned society by marrying his cousin, Reginald Fellows, only months later. Reginald appeared to offer everything Daisy desired: aristocratic connections, wealth, and respectable social standing. More importantly, she believed he was easy to control. Before long, however, she resumed taking lovers almost openly. One particularly outrageous story claims that Daisy and her lover, Fred Cripps, once followed Reginald to a brothel, watched him enter with another woman, and then deliberately revealed themselves, leaving both husband and wife caught in their own acts of infidelity. The marriage soon suffered another blow when Reginald's stockbroking business collapsed, largely because of poor financial decisions. Much of his fortune disappeared almost overnight. Embarrassed and unwilling to lower her lavish standard of living, Daisy once again searched for excitement and financial security outside her marriage. Her next target was the charming politician Duff Cooper, who had only recently married the celebrated socialite Lady Diana Manners. Daisy succeeded in seducing Cooper, beginning an affair that would continue for years. Lady Diana was painfully aware of the relationship, but initially chose to ignore it in order to preserve appearances. Eventually, however, Duff's increasingly careless behavior pushed her too far. In 1921, after Duff disappeared for an evening with Daisy, Lady Diana staged an unforgettable act of revenge. Pretending to fear that something terrible had happened to her missing husband, she contacted the police and reported her concerns, triggering an embarrassing search. The episode humiliated both lovers, yet it failed to end their relationship. Behind the scenes, Daisy and Duff shared a complicated bond that neither seemed willing, or perhaps able, to abandon for nearly a decade. By now, Daisy Fellows had transformed from a shy 19-year-old bride with fairy tale dreams into one of Europe's most notorious seductresses. According to Duff Cooper himself, Daisy had a secret ritual before many of her romantic encounters. She would consume opium to quiet her inhibitions and heighten the thrill. Whether exaggerated or not, the story only fueled her growing legend. Determined to satisfy every desire, Daisy embraced a lifestyle that shocked even the most worldly members of high society. Yet despite her endless affairs, she never lost the razor-sharp wit that made her as entertaining as she was scandalous. One of her most infamous jokes perfectly captured her mischievous personality. Outside her estate at Donington, Daisy installed a statue of Saint Joseph, joking that he was the patron saint of cuckolded husbands. The remark spread quickly through aristocratic circles, reinforcing her reputation as a woman who delighted in mocking the very social rules everyone else pretended to respect. As the years passed, Daisy's behavior became even more outrageous. By the 1930s, she had become one of the best-known figures in European high society, admired by loyal friends and despised by equally passionate critics. She seemed to enjoy provoking both groups. Guests aboard her luxurious yachts often found themselves greeted by a hostess wearing little more than a custom-made transparent cellophane cape, creating exactly the kind of spectacle Daisy loved. But beneath the glamorous facade, the cracks were beginning to show. Even many of her closest companions grew exhausted by her cruelty, selfishness, and complete lack of consideration for others. Invitations to spend weekends aboard her yachts often turned into unpleasant experiences, as Daisy treated guests more like props than friends. Photographer Cecil Beaton famously described her as spoiled, capricious, and wicked. On one notorious voyage, she reportedly ordered the writer Nancy Mitford to leave the yacht altogether simply to make room for her newest romantic interest, Lord Sherwood. Growing older did little to soften Daisy's obsession with beauty. Instead of accepting the passing years, she underwent a series of cosmetic procedures in an effort to preserve her youthful appearance. Her repeated facelifts became a favorite topic among society gossip. Writer Truman Capote once joked that Daisy's face had been lifted so many times it hardly resembled the original. Such remarks never seemed to bother her. Remaining the center of attention mattered far more than becoming the subject of ridicule. When the Second World War erupted, Daisy initially believed the conflict would do little to interrupt her privileged existence. For a time, she appeared to be right. Her longtime lover, Duff Cooper, had become Britain's Minister of Information, giving him enormous influence within the wartime government. Eager to continue their affair despite his demanding responsibilities, Cooper arranged for Daisy to stay in a London residence owned by his wife's family, allowing the pair to meet in secret whenever his schedule permitted. Even so, the arrangement failed to satisfy Daisy. Cooper's government duties consumed much of his time, and he was also involved with another mistress in Paris, leaving Daisy increasingly isolated. Used to commanding the attention of every man she desired, she struggled with long periods of loneliness, waiting impatiently for Cooper's occasional visits throughout the war. By the time peace finally returned to Europe, Daisy was more determined than ever to reclaim her influence over the man she refused to let slip away. After the war, Daisy arrived in Paris determined to remind everyone that she still belonged at the pinnacle of high society. Draped in magnificent jewels and dressed with flawless elegance, she made little effort to hide her intention of outshining Duff Cooper's other lovers. The rivalry became almost absurd, with the women competing for the attention of the same man. Ironically, several of Cooper's mistresses eventually sought comfort and reassurance from his long-suffering wife, Lady Diana. In many ways, this was Daisy's final social triumph before her carefully constructed world began to unravel. While Daisy fought to keep Duff's affection, tragedy struck much closer to home. Two of her daughters, Emmeline and Jacqueline, were accused of collaborating with the Axis powers during the Second World War. Emmeline spent 5 months in prison, while Jacqueline endured the public humiliation of having her head shaved after the liberation of France. The scandal deeply damaged the family's reputation, yet Daisy appeared remarkably detached from the disgrace surrounding her children. As Europe struggled to recover from war, Daisy refused to abandon the extravagant lifestyle she had always embraced. Veterans returned home carrying emotional scars, cities faced economic hardship, and millions attempted to rebuild their lives. Daisy, however, remained devoted to parties and luxury. In 1946, she celebrated in the streets of Paris from the back of a Rolls-Royce fitted with a glass roof, champagne in hand, seemingly untouched by the hardships that surrounded her. Then came a loss that even Daisy could not ignore. In 1953, her husband Reginald Fellows died after more than 30 years of marriage. Although she had been repeatedly unfaithful, Reginald had provided a surprising measure of stability throughout her chaotic life. Without him, Daisy's emotional state began to deteriorate. Ironically, one of her most enduring legacies came not from scandal, but from fashion. During a society event, Daisy wore an extraordinary vivid pink diamond that immediately caught the attention of designer Elsa Schiaparelli. Inspired by its brilliant color, Schiaparelli introduced the now famous shade, Shocking Pink, which became the signature of her perfume packaging and later appeared in countless fashion designs, including costumes worn by Marilyn Monroe in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Through that single jewel, Daisy left a permanent mark on 20th century fashion. Her sharp tongue continued to make enemies wherever she went. In 1957, during a lavish dinner party in Venice hosted by Lady Morat, Daisy allegedly attempted to undermine the event through a series of petty provocations. Lady Morat retaliated in equally dramatic fashion by taking Daisy's coveted hair appointment and even attempting to leave with her evening coat. It was exactly the kind of ridiculous high society feud that newspapers loved to report. Despite her reputation for wit and sophistication, Daisy occasionally revealed surprising gaps in her knowledge. She served as the Paris editor of Harper's Bazaar and published several novels, yet friends sometimes questioned the depth of her intellectual interests. Duff Cooper himself was reportedly amused when Daisy confused the celebrated French novelist Gustave Flaubert with the author of The Charterhouse of Parma, a mistake that became another source of gossip within elite social circles. For all her notoriety, Daisy nearly became entangled in one of the greatest royal scandals of the 20th century. During one of her lavish yacht parties, she entertained the future King Edward VIII, whose playful personality perfectly matched her own. She also met Wallis Simpson, the American divorcee whose relationship with Edward would eventually shake the British monarchy. Daisy kept their romance secret, but acquaintances later claimed that had Edward not been completely captivated by Wallis, Daisy would almost certainly have pursued him herself. Known for throwing extravagant-themed parties, Daisy delighted in shocking her guests. Perhaps her most infamous event was a dinner attended exclusively by people she openly disliked, a spectacular display of pettiness that perfectly reflected her mischievous sense of humor. As Daisy entered her 60s, however, the glamour gradually gave way to loneliness. With Reginald gone and many lifelong friends disappearing from her life, she struggled with painful memories of her mother's suicide and reportedly attempted to take her own life on several occasions. The fearless woman who had spent decades dominating high society was quietly fighting private battles few people ever saw. Daisy Fellows died of heart failure in 1962 at the age of 72. By then, the dazzling social queen who had once captivated Europe had largely faded from public memory, with only a handful of old friends remaining to mourn her passing. Then came the final revelation. Despite inheriting millions from the Singer family fortune, Daisy left behind only a tiny fraction of her enormous wealth, reportedly less than £8,000. After a lifetime of extravagant spending, luxurious yachts, priceless jewelry, lavish parties, and relentless indulgence, one of Europe's richest heiresses had nearly exhausted her fortune. It was a remarkably ironic ending for a woman who had always seemed to possess limitless wealth. Looking back, Daisy Fellows embodied both the glamour and the excess of the 20th century's aristocratic elite. Her life was filled with dazzling fashion, notorious romances, bitter rivalries, and endless controversy. Yet beneath the confidence and sophistication was a woman haunted by personal tragedy, emotional loneliness, and self-destructive impulses. She refused to apologize for who she was, choosing instead to live boldly, extravagantly, and entirely on her own terms. Whether remembered as a fashion icon, an infamous socialite, or one of history's most controversial heiresses, Daisy Fellows remains one of the most fascinating and complicated women of her era. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. I hope you discovered something new and interesting today. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next destination. See you in the next journey.